We live in probably the strangest year since I was born, and maybe since everyone was born. What kind of risks and maybe even hopefully solutions have you seen during the pandemic and the efforts to increasing diversity in tech?
Sure. So the first and obvious one is that, the role of primary caregiver keeps defaulting to the women in times of crisis. So that's always going to be an issue because now these kids are home. They need to be homeschooled with, their home curriculums. And so everything that goes along with that, you can't just sort of tuck them into their rooms with a Chromebook and expect that they're going to be self-sufficient for the entire day. You are still a caregiver for that child in your home, regardless of how old they are. Um, the mentality that it's going to fall to the women, and even women suffer from this mentality, they just step into that role, they just take care of business. That mentality needs to start to break down, especially as this pandemic is getting more and more protracted. It's lasting longer and longer than anyone thought possible. The role needs to be split, right? Primary caregiver can't always fall to the woman. It has to be split equally among partners. This traditional excuse that, well, the other parent makes more money, so I'm going to take on this role of primary caregiver. No, 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 no. That's not the way it works. The other parent will always make more money because you're never going to be able to advance your career.
Right.
You need to be able to sit down with your partner, if you have one, or your social circle, whether that includes grandparents, what have you, to discuss the impacts of being a caregiver on the children, as well as being able to support everyone in their current careers. Everyone's going to have to take a little bit of a step back to make this work, and the burden shouldn't fall all to one caregiver. It's not fair.
Well, for me, I'm a single mom of 3 kids, so they're at home with me whenever they're at home, and so thankfully I have an amazing group that I work with. That if I need to do school at this time later in the evening, if I can get my work done then I can do it. So the flexibility to offer a mom to be able to say, hey, do some schoolwork with your kid, get online when you can, and then finish up your work in the evening. That's huge. Yes, in sales it's a little hard because you're going to want to call and do all your follow-ups during the day, but just schedule out certain times so that you have, hey, this is set for kids at this time, and then go into your sales and then set this time aside as well. So at our company, we actually hired 3 females during COVID. And it was great. I mean, they have come on board, they have kids, so they've been able to work with their kids being home as well. So it's actually been great to see that, and see that our company is pushing towards that still, even in this time.
But when we talk about the effects that the pandemic has had on diversity, particularly women, as we are in caregiving roles, we're losing visibility within the organization. As we talked about earlier, that we had to change our game up to advance in our career, we have to change our game to be visible, in this virtual world. So what does that look like? For me, it looks like speaking up more on Zoom meetings than I did in face-to-face meetings. The pandemic just has required us, for us to think differently, to be more creative. I'd have to say, if there is a silver lining in this time before the pandemic ends, is that it's creating an opportunity for us to step outside of our comfort zones, learn something new, and learn how to adapt in a virtual world. Because now that it's here, it's not going to go away, even post-pandemic.